Good morning. My name is Eston Talavera, and my presentation today is going to be about advancing awareness of educational staff to the effects of trauma of middle and elementary students. Welcome. I am a MSW candidate at the Wichita State University School of Social Work. So let's get started today. And trauma is any situation by which students' ability to cope with what happens is impacted or is impacted in a negative way. It varies from child to child and from person to person and causes challenging behavioral problems in different school settings. So that's my background information for that. Our grand challenge is to ensure healthy development for all youth, because when students are dealing with trauma, they need to feel safe and they need to feel heard before they really can start learning. And so that's really important to understand, because when we look at children feeling safe in their schools, it's really important that we know that the child feels heard and they feel known, so that they are able to start learning in a way that is meaningful to them. So the social work theory that I'm going to talk about today is systems theory, and systems theory suggests that trauma is a result of many interrelated factors that compound upon each other and which create adverse behaviors that are so problematic. They are increasing our awareness of teachers in our schools of how trauma impacts our students. It's going to allow us to impact students' behaviors in schools and behavior in the classrooms as well. So for a long time, our students really had no way of expressing traumatic events and when traumatic events happen. And so it's very important that we understand that now we can address some of those traumatic things that occur. By helping teachers to understand how and why trauma is important and relevant to them, it will help them to understand why students are acting the way they do. Our goal is, by helping students to feel safe in the schools, it will help to eliminate some of those problematic behaviors that we see so often. So if they feel safe, if they feel heard and known in their schools, then they may not act out as much. Our research literature, I want to talk about social toxins, which are negative social events that are poisonous to the development of youth, and that's according to Belanda and Johnson in 2015. Social toxins can be many different things. They can be environmental, they can be things that happen to the child that are no fault of the child, or things that happen to the child that are very difficult to understand for the child. These events impede sense of self and sense of agency, according to Belanda and Johnson, 2015. Children who are exposed to trauma have both immediate short-term symptoms and long-term symptoms. Short-term symptoms can be as simple as having a headache or an unexplained stomach ache, having problems concentrating or focusing in class, or having issues with focusing on their schoolwork and understanding content. Long-term symptoms are things that last for a longer term, or things that are problematic for longer. These symptoms and behaviors tend to be more difficult to control. And that's according to Edelman et al. In 2007. Resilience, which is really important, we want to build the resilience, is the ability of a person in their environment to interact and in a positive way. And so that's according to Unger 2013. And so when I talk about resilience, I'm talking about the person and their environment. And we want to work together to create an environment where the person can succeed. And so when we increase the child's resilience levels, it helps them to understand what they need to be doing in certain situations. So we're going to move on now and talk more about some empowerment and some different things there. So empowerment is helping. We're going to help give our students and teachers a voice by allowing them to speak up when something has happened to them. We're going to ask students questions. We're going to talk to students and find out what's going on in their lives outside of school. That's going to empower students to feel like they're heard, feel like they're known, and feel like they are in a good environment for them. Our social justice component is being more equitable to our students when we are not addressing traumatic events that have happened. We are not treating all students equally. We're not treating all students with the same respect that they deserve. And so we want to treat, students equally as much as we can, and we want to help students have a chance to succeed. And by addressing trauma with teachers, we can do this. Cultural competency, by working to ensure and improve the skills and knowledge of teachers and educators, that allows us to better understand the ways in which they interact with our students, and the ways in which students are struggling to understand. And we want to work more with different cultures and different types of diverse clients, so that we can increase our ability to know what's happening with the child and what's going on with their lives. Our social work ethics, advancing human rights, addressing trauma advances human rights by helping to build students up and working on a sense of security and sense of self and sense of connection with them. So we want to build our students' self-esteem, build our students' ability to cope with different things throughout their lives, and hopefully build their resilience and their ability to deal with trauma in the future. Engage with individuals and groups. This is really important to me because I do a lot of group work and a lot of individual work, and we can help students by addressing a trauma and interacting with them in either groups or individual sessions. So either I, as the social worker, can do this, or if there's a safe person that a student likes to talk about, we have a lot of programs now where students can go and find a safe person that they feel safe talking to, and they can talk to them about things that have happened in their lives. And that really has helped in a lot of schools that I know of. So those are our competencies. The most important ethical reasons to work on this issue are dignity and worth of the person. When we look at trauma from an advanced generalist perspective and approach, we are addressing the dignity and worth of the person when we are providing trauma-based interventions to the students that we work with. And this is very important. We are also addressing the importance of human relationships by allowing students and teachers to come together and work together to ensure that students feel safe. And also due to the fact that the building wide relationships with students is a fundamental way to address trauma. So when we address trauma and we have trauma sensitive schools, we don't just address it classroom by classroom, we address it building wide. So everybody is involved, from a para to the speech language teacher to the social worker, all of them are involved. And so that's very important. So in conclusion, creating programs and workshops that can educate our teachers on trauma and trauma-based supports will help us to address these issues. Increasing trauma awareness in teaching education courses. So when teachers go and get their education, they get some knowledge on how to deal with trauma, and they understand better what causes trauma and how they can address it in their classrooms, as opposed to outside of the classrooms in professional development. And then talk to students who are impacted by trauma and get an idea of how they feel that that trauma can be best addressed. So talking to students about trauma and how they feel trauma could be addressed the right way is also very important. I thank you for listening to this presentation with me, and I will take questions now.